So when the news first emerged about all the dangers that were emerging over the coronavirus, the school started to do a lot of research. And by February, we realized that there could be the possibility of closure. Some schools were closing for a day. There were a lot of media reports about problems ahead. So that's when we started doing our planning. Our students came back from their midterm break. We checked everybody in terms of their holidays to make sure they'd all been safe. They hadn't been to a country that was in any way dangerous. And then we started doing our planning. So at Regent's, we're very lucky because we had a whole month of planning where we worked hard. We looked at best practice from around the world about the different possibilities for online learning. And then we put together what we called the remote learning platform, Regent's Remote Learning. The whole idea being that we'd flip the school over. So we weren't just making it up at the last minute. We had strategies and plans so that we could do this for the long term. Now it's worked out very well, I'm pleased to say, because we now are able to do pretty well everything we were doing before the pandemic, but we're doing it online. One of the big worries from a lot of families is, how will I get the feedback? How will we know that the boys and girls are really understanding what's happening? We've gone from an environment where everybody was in school every day to one where everybody's at home. Well, we're very familiar with assessing the students online. Regent's has been a Google school for many years. Now, what does that mean? It actually means that our students have been engaging online with their teachers while they've been here. So an awful lot of our assessments, a lot of our work is put online already. So if a child misses school, the work's available. We're very used to doing that. Also, the boys and girls are very familiar with uploading their answers, teachers marking them online and sending them back. So what that's meant is that actually before this started, we were very familiar with assessing our students online and making sure that people really know what's happening. So now the move onto the remote learning platform, it's meant there's more work done online, but really we're still able to keep very close tabs on what everybody was doing. When the school realised we were going to be doing this for quite a few weeks, we recognised that it's very important that we would be able to assess the boys and girls as we were going along. We knew this wasn't going to be over quickly, so basically in flipping the school over, what we've done is made sure that we can assess the students just as if they were here. So we have our end of year examinations for the older students, and then we have assessments, we have one-to-one conversations, we have all the written work that we would normally do. And so we're able to give a full academic profile to everyone and then report at the end of the year as normal. But that's just one way of assessing how the boys and girls are doing. It's really important that we look at the whole child. And so from that point of view, we look at some other factors. Now, an obvious one is attendance. We have registers, just as if the boys and girls were coming into school every day. And the attendance has been superb at the school. We're making sure that everybody is there on time every morning, after their lunch breaks, back in lessons in the afternoon. So having a high attendance level, even when it's at home, is very, very important. Wellbeing is another very important factor when we're looking after the children. And so making sure that we're aware of whether anyone is feeling lonely, whether anyone is feeling isolated. And so the counselling and support side of our staff, the pastoral care, is very, very important when it comes to measuring how effective this is being. And finally, we take surveys, we do measurement, we talk to families, we talk to the students themselves, and then we draw together all of this information, the more general information, to make sure that everybody is feeling involved. And listening to the voices of parents is very important. In the surveys we've done and the interviews we've conducted, we've modified what we're doing so it fits more around family life. One of the real dangers with remote learning is that it'll feel one way. Now, what I mean by that is families might worry that it's a bit like watching the television and there's no two-way engagement. Now, this is why it's so important for us that we're regularly monitoring what people are doing, what the students are doing. So we have a mix of video recorded excerpts of lessons that students can watch again and again. But that's not enough. That's why we have so many sessions where small groups or large groups or even one-to-one sessions take place. where students are able to talk with their teachers and teachers are able to chat and ask questions of their students, so we make sure that the process continues to be a two-way dialogue and doesn't feel too remote and too distant. Now, Regent is a very well-established and highly respected school, and we're fortunate enough in having to draw on many years of experience, not just here, but from education around the world, to make sure we can provide a first-class education. And we have to recognise that for international schools and for schools in Thailand, remote learning is going to be with us for a while. Now, there is talk of schools returning maybe in July, but all the evidence from other schools that have come back is that there will probably be remote learning of some sort after that. And that's going to be very important nationally here in Thailand if we're going to make sure that Thai schools can also adopt a remote learning platform. There will be a number of factors that have to be engaged in. We have to make sure all the staff are trained properly. This isn't something you can just go into. So here at Regent, we were lucky enough to have over a month of training. But all staff who are going into remote learning have got to learn how to do things differently. They've got to rethink how they do their teaching. It also affects the preparation of resources. Teachers who are used to just standing and talking have maybe got to do things a little bit differently. So students are going to have to be taught in a different way. Those students are also going to have to learn in a different way. And so schools have to educate the children in how to cope with the differences, working from home instead of being with their friends, keeping fit, not having too much screen time. These are all important factors. There's also a technological factor. We have to make sure that the technology doesn't fail, because the moment that goes wrong, everything disappears. So making sure that schools and students are using appropriate hardware, they've got appropriate internet connections, and they use secure platforms are all important. And finally, to wrap it all together, parents have to be involved. Many families are used to leaving their children in the morning and meeting them in the evening. For a while now, parents are going to be more closely involved in the education of their children. And so that is going to have to mean more help, more dialogue, and more support for families as we move forward and as we get through this pandemic.